All right, everyone, welcome back.
Hey there.
So we are diving into Squid Game Season 2. And I think the big one, the one that everyone's been talking about is Gi-hoon becoming the next front man. It's been kind of a theory since Season 1.
Yeah.
Season 2 has really added fuel to that fire.
Yeah.
We dug into Screen Rant's analysis on this theory, and we're going to break it down, like all the arguments and the evidence, and maybe even get into some speculation.
Yeah, definitely. So it's really interesting how Gi-hoon enters Season 2. Like, on the surface, he seems very heroic in his mission to expose the games and protect potential players. He's even, trying to use his winnings for good. It's a far cry from the desperate gambler we met in Season 1.
Yeah, he seems like the knight in shining armor at first, except things get complicated.
Yeah, his plan to fight back against the guards, while noble intent, really triggers a domino effect of unintended consequences.
Yeah, and people die.
Yeah.
Like his friend, Jung-bae. It's brutal. And Screen Rant argues that this is where his moral compass starts to, falter.
Yeah. That decision to sacrifice some to potentially save countless others, it's the same logic the frontman uses to justify the games.
Right.
So it's like, is he losing his humanity? Could this tragedy be the catalyst that pushes him towards a darker path?
It's heavy stuff. And then you add player 001 into the mix, and that revealed that. He is the frontman.
Yeah.
That was mind-blowing. And then his whole speech about why the games exist, it really planted seeds of doubt in Gi-hoon's mind.
Right. And his backstory adds another layer to the whole debate. He was desperate to save his wife. He felt indebted to the games, even though he couldn't save her. So you wonder, is this a glimpse into Gi-hoon's potential future? Could he convince himself that the games are a necessary evil?
God, it's terrifying to think about. And then in the Season 2 finale, you have that moment where the players are split on whether to leave or stay, and Gi-hoon makes a choice.
Yes. A choice that Screen Rant highlights as a direct parallel to the frontman's actions, sacrificing the players who wanted to leave to try and rebel against the game organizers. This willingness to devalue lives for a perceived greater good. It's right out of the frontman's playbook.
Is it really the same? I mean, Gi-hoon's motive seems different than the frontman's.
Right.
The frontman is twisted by obligation and maybe a little bit of power. But Gi-hoon, he's convinced he's fighting for something bigger than himself. He's trying to bring the whole system down.
Yeah.
Is that a crucial distinction?
Not a black and white situation. It's murky, it's complex, and that's where we want to hear from you. What do you think? Are Gi-hoon's actions justified? Is he truly different from the frontman?
Hit us up on social media. Let's debate.
Right.
Before we get too philosophical, let's talk about what the fans over at Screen Rant had to say, because the comment section was electric.
Yeah.
Some people agree with the theory. Some people completely shut it down.
Yeah.
There was a lot of humor in there.
Right. From lighthearted cynicism to deep dives into character psyche, the fans definitely brought their A game. When it came to dissecting this theory, it's a real whirlwind of opinions. And Screen Rant's analysis, they also acknowledge some contradictions within this theory.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They point out that Gi-hoon doesn't seem to be motivated by personal gain the way that the front man is. He's trying to tear the whole system down.
Exactly. The front man believes in the games, in their own twisted sense of justice. He may hate his role, but he sees it as necessary. Gi-hoon sees the games as pure evil, like a cancer that needs to be eradicated.
Right. So even though he makes some morally questionable choices, it's hard to see him fully embrace the front man's ideology.
Yeah. It begs the question, can you fight against something so deeply corrupt without being corrupted yourself? Season 2 really paints a picture of Gi-hoon walking a very dangerous road.
There's a tightrope with some serious consequences if he falls. Think about it. All those lives lost because of his decisions. Even if he succeeds in destroying the games, will he ever be able to live with that burden?
Yeah, it's a heavy weight to carry. And that's one of the things that makes this theory so compelling. This character who starts with good intentions, ultimately becoming the very embodiment of the evil he was fighting. It's tragic.
Talk about a fall from grace. But honestly, it wouldn't be totally out of left field for Squid Game. This show does not shy away from the dark side of humanity.
Absolutely. It confronts us with these brutal moral dilemmas. It makes us examine our own beliefs about justice, about what we would do in these impossible situations.
Speaking of impossible situations, let's talk about the ending. Gi-hoon makes the decision to go back to the games. Does that mean he's already started down the path to becoming the front man?
It's definitely a possibility. That last scene, him turning back from the plane, it tells us he's not done with the games, but is he going back to fight them from the inside, or has he become so disillusioned that he's going to join them? We just don't know.
Yeah, it could go either way. He could be planning an epic takedown, or he could be so broken that he buys into the twisted logic of the games.
It's a cliffhanger ending, and it's left fans buzzing with theories, which is exactly what the showrunners want.
Okay, before we get too lost in speculation, let's just take a step back and focus on what we know for sure. Like, what are the facts?
Yeah. We know that Gi-hun made morally questionable choices in Season 2, choices that resulted in the loss of innocent lives.
Yeah. And we know that the frontman's philosophy, like his whole worldview, has had a profound impact on Gi-hun, even if he doesn't fully agree with it.
Yeah. We also know he's carrying a lot of trauma from his time in the games. He's wrestling with guilt and responsibility.
It's like a walking contradiction. He wants to do good, but he keeps making decisions that lead to terrible outcomes.
Yeah. He's complex. He's got good and bad in him, which makes him a much more interesting character than just a straightforward hero or villain.
So what does this all mean for Season 3? What's next for Gi-hun?
That's the million-dollar question. Will he become the next frontman? Will he find redemption? Or will he end up somewhere in between, trapped in this moral gray area, forever marked by his choices?
God, I don't know, but I'm hooked.
We too.
I can't wait to see what they do with him.
And don't forget, there are other storylines in play too. What about the detective's brother? Will he uncover the truth about what happened? And what about the organization behind the games? Will their secrets finally be exposed?
There are so many questions, and we're dying to get some answers.
Yeah.
But until Season 3 drops, all we can do is speculate.
Speaking of speculation, remember that theory we started with? Gi-hun becoming the frontman. Well, there's one specific moment. In Screen Rant's analysis, that really jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah. Fill me in.
They point to a specific moment in the Season 2 finale. The moment where Gi-hun makes a decision. That directly leads to the deaths of several players.
Wait, you're talking about the scene where there's split on whether to stay in the games or leave?
Exactly. The players are divided, and Gi-hun orchestrates a plan that ends with the players who wanted to leave getting killed. Screen Rant argues that this is where we see the potential for that ruthlessness, that willingness to sacrifice lives, that defines the front man.
Like, chilling. They both decided that sacrificing a few lives for the chance at something bigger, whether it's rebellion or the continuation of the games, is the right choice.
Right, and that's what makes it fascinating, because on the surface, their actions are almost identical. But the question Screen Rant asks, are their motivations the same?
Yeah. Like, is Gi-hun really driven by personal gain, the way the frontman seems to be?
Yeah.
Or is there, like, a difference in their moral compass?
Million-dollar question. And Screen Rant, they acknowledge both sides of the argument. They point out that Gi-hun's motivations seem to be about dismantling the system, not benefiting from it.
Right. And they even highlighted a comment from one of their readers. That really resonated with me. Remember, Party? They argue that Gi-hun is fighting to save potentially thousands of lives in the future, whereas the frontman was initially motivated by saving just one, his wife.
Yeah. That's a huge distinction, and it speaks to the complexity of Gi-hun's character. He's not a cookie-cutter villain or a perfect hero. He's a flawed human being grappling with impossible choices in a truly messed up situation.
Which is what makes Squid Game so good. It doesn't give us easy answers.
Right.
It just shoves these moral dilemmas in our faces and makes us question what we believe about right and wrong.
And as we look ahead to Season 3, the big question becomes, which side of Gi-hun will win out? Will his compassion and his desire for justice prevail, or will he succumb to the darkness that seems to be closing in around him?
Man, I don't know. I need to know what happens.
Me too. But until then, Screen Rant's analysis and the fan reactions that they've gathered have given us a ton to chew on. It's amazing how one theory can ignite so much debate and interpretation.
Absolutely. That's what's so great about pop culture. It gives us these shared experiences that we can analyze, argue about, and ultimately learn from.
Yeah. So to all our listeners out there, what do you think about Gi-hun's fate? Do you think he'll become the next frontman? Head over to our social media pages and let us know.
We want to hear your theories. And don't forget to subscribe to Backstage Pass Podcast on Spotify and YouTube for more discussions on all things pop culture.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride. Until next time.